What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of The Atlantic Files, the number one podcast on the number one division in the NBA, brought to you by the Underdog Sports Podcast Network. As always, joined by your hosts, myself, Alex Fishbein, and I got Dennis Big Sexy Clausen. What's going on, Dennis?
I'm not that excited to see everybody. Like, where you just raise your arms, I don't do that.
You don't really like people?
No, I
Is that
do.
what it is?
It's just, I don't know. It's Monday. It's late. Well,
I
for me,
mean,
I'm older than you, so it is later for me.
I've been going to bed quite early as of late, so I get it.
I mean, I think I actually stay up later than you because I did text you at like 1:30 in the morning on that double overtime game between the Kings and the but I can't remember who they played, but
The Clippers, right?
the Clippers. Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes, yes. Yep.
Yeah, no, I was fast asleep. I If the Sixers aren't still playing, I'm usually asleep by like 10 at the latest. And then I watch the late games, I watch them the next morning.
I went to bed Saturday night and a Sunday morning, probably about 4 o'clock in the morning, and I watch NBA, the NBA channel. They re-looped the same episode, so I ended up watching it about 6 times, and I know it's the same episode because they say the same jokes every time.
Right. That's how in college when I wouldn't have class until like noon or even in the until the afternoon, I would just rewatch Sports Center from like when it first airs all the way up until I had class. So I definitely get it.
Yeah, the Sports Center loop. It's just the same
Exactly.
stuff over and over again.
Yep. Same arguments, same things every single time. So
Yeah,
with that being said,
here we are.
there's plenty to get into. There's been some arguments on ESPN and Sports Center and everything like that, but we'll probably get to that in like the middle of the show. So let's get to one of the exciting things that has happened. Exciting depending on who you're a fan of. The Celtics Sixers game. Boston, yet again, owns the Sixers. Boston has pretty much just, a lot of times destroyed, but have just had the Sixers number essentially ever since Joel Embiid's been on the team. Like the Sixers that had Iguodala and Evan Turner in them played better against the Celtics, who at the time had Kevin Garnett, Ray Allen, and Paul Pierce and everybody. That team played better against the Celtics than this current Sixers team ever plays against the Celtics, which is pretty
Played,
sad.
played like dog shit.
Yeah. It's anytime they go up against the Celtics, they forget how to play basketball. They forget how to play any type of game that they were just previously playing, to be on any sort of win streak, to play any other sort of good team. They don't share the ball anymore. They go one-on-one all the time. Joel Embiid completely forgets that they run up behind him and steal the ball almost any time he's in the post. His passes are almost always errant against Boston. They literally just... I can almost tell you the script of the game every time they play each other, and it's mind-boggling how it never changes.
They get starstruck when they play the Celtics.
It's
They've
true.
lost all 3 games against the Celtics this year. They cannot beat the Celtics. And there's a couple things I was looking into. I'm on this show for more than just my good looks and great hair.
Of course.
I do provide some value with some things. All right, so Tatum in the last game on, what was it, Saturday night they played? Yeah, I think it was Saturday night.
Yes. Yeah.
Tatum went 7 for 17, and they still couldn't beat the Celtics. All right. 25 assists per game is what the Sixers average right now.
Mm-hmm.
In that game, 16. So almost 10 assists less against the Celtics. And your man's, I don't know what's going on with your man's Tyrese Maxey, what he did to piss anybody off. But that guy's been sitting the bench and coming off the bench, and I don't know if that's a good move for Doc, especially when you got PJ Tucker in the lineup. I love PJ Tucker, but he's only averaging, through three points a game. That's all you're getting out of PJ Tucker. Now I get it. He's not a scorer. He's never been a scorer. He's out there for different reasons. But at this point, when you're playing that bad, and obviously the things that you're doing aren't working, don't you think it should be time to change it up a little bit?
You would think.
Try something different. Put some. But Doc is just so committed to using mostly that same starting lineup of Embiid, Tobias Harris, PJ Tucker, Harden, and the only thing that's really changed is Melton in for Maxey.
Yep.
So if he's sitting there and he thinks, "Oh, I know what's going to fix this. We're going to take out Tyrese Maxey. He's the problem. We're going to let him play 24 minutes a game, and then we're going to put Anthony Melton into the starting lineup. That is going to fix the problem." I don't get it. I absolutely don't get it.
I don't. And the funny thing is, not too long ago, JJ Redick even tweeted how that starting lineup with Melton compared to if you just swap Melton out for Maxey, they have essentially the same exact offensive rating around 124. And then the defensive rating with Melton in is 111 compared to 101 with Maxey.
Well, if you ask Mike, the 111 is better.
True. I was just about to say, in Mike's world, then that lineup is better, but... Muhammad is here. He says hi. What's going on, Muhammad? Glad to have you.
Hey.
But I just wanted to say, too...
Klay Thompson. I saw Muhammad. I just want to see Klay Thompson.
Muhammad, a.k.a. Klay Thompson's burner account.
Yeah.
I also don't understand what Maxey did to all of a sudden just always be on the bench. Even if he's ending games with the starters and everything, I don't understand what he did either, especially because he's really not... you can tell his confidence isn't what it used to be from the beginning of the season. You can tell he's not getting the same kind of shots that he got in the beginning of the season. He's not even getting to the rim as well as he used to, and it's not like it doesn't look like he's less explosive or anything like that either. It doesn't look like that one injury had affected him really all that much. But it's a lot different when you're on this bench unit and everyone knows you're the only person that is somewhat good as an offensive player. So, they're double teaming, triple teaming him, especially because Doc Rivers loves his all bench lineups. He just refuses to not use them. So, with that being said, you have in there Maxey with now it's McDaniels, Shake Milton, Niang, and then the center rotates sometimes with Harrell, Paul Reed. They haven't played Dedmon yet, but we'll see what happens with that. If you're an opposing team, I'm throwing all 3, 4, 5 guys at Maxey because I don't give a fuck about the rest of them. I'm not scared of Niang hitting 20 points. I'm not scared of McDaniels or Harrell or any of those guys hitting 20 points. Shake might actually give you 20 points in the game here and there, but at that against Boston, Shake didn't even really play. He played 2 or 3 minutes in that game. So, like you said, Doc didn't even try anything different. And the funny thing to me is when he did try something different, it was at the end of the game when he put Melton on Jayson Tatum for that game-winning shot. When the whole game, McDaniels was actually doing a very good job defensively on Jayson Tatum. And on top of that, I'd rather have Tobias Harris playing defense on Jayson Tatum because he's bigger. I'd rather have PJ Tucker trying to make a defensive play on Jayson Tatum. And I really like Melton. I like Melton a lot. And I think that was a huge pickup for the Sixers. But in that scenario, I'm not putting Melton on Jayson Tatum, who is obviously bigger than him, stronger than him, and like he's one of the best players in the league. So you got to put big people on him to try and disrupt him somewhere.
Well, like you said, I just don't get it, considering that when McDaniels was in Charlotte, he started a lot of time when the Hornets were. They didn't have Lonzo Ball for a big chunk of the season. The guy injured his ankle 3 times, so Hayward missed a lot of time in Charlotte, and McDaniel's not a great shooter, but he averaged nearly 13 points a game.
Right.
You're telling me you can't give a guy who averaged more than 13 or who averaged 13 points a game more than the 15 minutes he played against Boston? Exactly. You're telling me you can't give Tyrese Maxey more than 25 minutes? You're telling me you got to play James Harden 41 minutes? Like a James Harden who is nowhere close to the guy that he used to be?
Right.
Is that where we're at now with this?
But I will give it to James Harden that he hit some clutch shots. He hit some big shots down the stretch, but he also shot 5 of 16.
Right, which is kind of like the norm for him. James Harden, his entire offensive, game plan used to be predicated on just getting to the foul line and making his free throw shots. Right. Things are obviously much different. His assist numbers are higher because he has to be a distributor. He's not the proven scorer that he used to be. If this were the rules from a couple of years ago where they were more lenient with the foul calling and things like that, then things might be different. But in this, and I thought things would change when Harden went from Brooklyn to Philly, but they didn't.
Right.
But I think the biggest problem in Philly right now is I think it's the coaching. I think Doc has to go. And this was supposed to be a year where Tyrese Maxey was supposed to turn that corner and finally emerge into that all-star point guard, or at least on the cusp of being an all-star. And he is nowhere near close to that. And I blame Doc Rivers, because when you got a guy that young and you're sitting there, you're feeding his ego you're not feeding his ego, not saying he has an ego, but the media is pumping him up. Fans are pumping him up. Everybody's pumping up that Tyrese Maxey is going to be your number 3 guy. And now he plays 25 minutes off the bench. We're talking about a guy who in October he was averaging 23 points. He averaged 22 points a game in November. And now we're talking about a guy who's averaging 17, 18 points a game now from the bench. You're not going to if you took Tyrese Maxey right now and you brought him to Brooklyn, which that would be fantastic. He would play so much better.
Maxey, Dinwiddie, Bridges, Cam Johnson, all those guys together, that'd be great.
Maxey would be not an all-star, but he would at least get some all-star comments throughout the year. Oh, he's playing at an all-star. He would get that. Right now in Philly, he ain't getting nothing. And that's Doc's fault.
Agreed.
He just doesn't want to adapt to what's going on. Your lineup is not working. Your starting lineup is not working. If anything, why don't we just put some guys who can shoot out there, see what happens? Just put Niang out there. Let's see if we can open things up. Just do something.
Right. And that's the thing is the supporting cast they put together is definitely better than some of the ones they've had in recent years, but they're also one of the streakiest they've had in recent years. There is no guy off the bench that you can say, like, this guy's going to come in and give me a 3 or 2. Like, there is no guy on the bench that is going to come in every night and be like, I know he can just, like, wreak havoc on defense and, you know, like, disrupt a game plan from the other team. And it doesn't even matter if you have somebody, like, deep on the bench that could play in certain scenarios or a young guy that could develop, because Doc Rivers doesn't do any of that. Doc Rivers has a game plan going into it, and he does not veer from that game plan whatsoever. He does not make in-game adjustments. And everybody has said the past 2 seasons since Doc Rivers has been with the team, every time the playoffs have come, everyone talks about how Doc Rivers doesn't make those adjustments that actually win playoff series. And he just continues to show he still doesn't do it.
Well, the only adjustment he's made of note throughout because, you know, you're more of a Sixers guy than I am, but every time I watch a Sixers game, like I said before, it's the same starting lineup. And you're telling me the adjustment that you're going to make is to move Tyree Baxley to the bench in favor of DeAnthony Melton?
Right.
Like, if you're going to use Tyrese Maxey off the bench, that's fine. But let's, like, use him the way the Heat used Tyler Hero last year. He's not officially a starter, but he's pretty much a starter because 3 minutes into the game, Tyler Hero's coming in.
Right.
You know,
like, he's still playing 30-plus minutes.
He's still playing starters minutes. It's just He's coming off the bench.
Exactly.
You can't give that guy more than 25 minutes. You know what I mean? It just doesn't make sense to me. You can't give McDaniels more than 15 minutes on the floor. The guy who's started. You can't even toy with the fact of putting McDaniels into the starting lineup and moving Tobias Harris to the bench. Like, just do something. You can't toy with moving McDaniels to the 4 and sending PJ Tucker to the bench. Like, this is where we're at. Like, obviously PJ Tucker's not working.
Right.
It's not working.
I mean, I will say PJ Tucker has had some big defensive games, but the main thing PJ is there for is for the playoffs, when you need a defensive person to inject some energy and a guy to be your enforcer and a guy to actually, like, bring some attitude and stuff to the floor. That's the only reason he's there.
You know, I love PJ Tucker.
Oh yeah, I know.
I mean, I rave about PJ Tucker. I love PJ Tucker. I mean, he's not a good offensive player. Outside of a corner 3, he can't do anything.
Exactly. And that's the thing. Like, honestly, I'm fine if you rest PJ Tucker a little bit more in the regular season so that come playoff time, he's there to cover the other team's best big man or best player, whatever it may be. Let him, you know, have some fresh legs, because they can definitely win with a lot of other combinations for this team.
PJ Tucker's not missing a game.
Oh, I know. He's an Iron Man, which props to PJ Tucker. I love that about him, especially at the age of 37 or 38 or whatever he is.
Right, yeah, he ain't missing anything.
Yeah. But, like, there's way more combinations of lineups that Doc can do. And like I said, he loves his all bench lineups, and, like, sometimes he goes to lineups of, like, the bench plus Tobias Harris. And I'm like, if Tobias Harris isn't on that night, that lineup's not going to work. Tobias has to be having one of those nights that he is just on fire for that lineup to really work.
Yeah, where Clippers Tobias Harris is in the building.
Exactly. So you going to that lineup, especially against the better teams in the league, isn't going to do anything, especially because when you do that, your center and everybody, it's not Embiid, so you're already going to get demolished inside. And then the rest of your guys around Tobias and Maxey at that point are going to be streaky, sometimes shooters, sometimes can put a ball in the basket, and sometimes just are completely not there. I mean, in this game against the Celtics, the bench scored a total of 12 points, and only 2 people scored those 12 points, and it was Maxey and McDaniels. Niang was 0 for 3. Paul Reed played almost 5 minutes and was 0 for 1. Shake Milton played a minute and 48 seconds and didn't even put a shot up.
And when you're inconsistent with your bench guys aren't going to be as productive. You need to get some stability.
Exactly.
But where they dropped the ball, though, the front office dropped the ball around the trade deadline. There were so many options. I mean, I don't feel like they made a serious play to get Kevin Love. True. I don't feel like they could have used Russell Westbrook easily. He's not a great shooter, but I mean, hell, he's much better than a lot of the other things they have going on. You're True. Telling me, like, even though I'm not a big fan of his, but trade Tobias Harris, get rid of him. Go get Kyle Lowry. Like, do something. But like, this team right now, the way it's constructed, is not going to win a title. So now is the time. I think they're in denial mode because it kind of would like be admitting that this whole thing was a failure outside of Joel Embiid. Right. But I think we're at the point now where we need to start picking apart the team and figuring out how to make it better.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so we might need to start. And if you're not going to use Maxey, get rid of him in the offseason. If that's how he has value. So if that's how you're going to do it, then get rid of him. Get somebody else.
I was about to say, at this rate, like the trade they talked about where they sent like Maxey, Tobias, and others for Kevin Durant, that might have looked good because it's not like you're using Maxey much. It's not like Tobias is really going to contribute much to a championship unless he is Clippers Tobias for the rest of the entire season. So
which he's not going to be. So
exactly.
You know, unfortunately, it's time to hit the reset button and move on.
Yep. No, I completely agree. And
including coaching needs to change.
Oh, hell yeah. I would love to give Sam Cassell a chance.
Well, I know a guy out there who's floating around who was looking for a job, and he brought a team to the finals last year.
And completely revamped their defense.
Might show his cock to a couple women, but you know, what are you going to do?
If that means winning a championship, I mean, hey.
Yeah, fuck it. We'll I mean, he's probably got 12 inches anyway, so if I had something like that, I'd want to show it off too.
True. I mean, you show it off if you got it. You don't show it off if you don't got it. Maybe
it just fell out of his pants. I don't know. Maybe this whole thing was just a big misunderstanding.
But I will say, the last thought I had about this game.
Yeah, good thing you moved before we get thrown off.
Yeah, exactly.
YouTube, what happens? It's like, you guys don't like women. I love women. It was a joke.
Exactly.
Fucking joke. Let's relax. It was like, he's just a scumbag for that.
Yes, of course he is. The thing that pissed me off the most about the game was that the Sixers were really rolling for the first half, rolling for even the first half of the third quarter, and then they just leave Al Horford open. He hits 1 3. I'm like, all right, you know, big deal. He hit a 3. He hits a second 3. I'm like, okay, whatever. I'm like, now you probably should at least just put a hand up. Like, I'm not saying close out hard on him and like really like get close to fouling him or anything, but like maybe you should just put a hand up. They call a timeout. They come back out. Al Horford hits another wide open 3. So he's on a 9-0 run by himself. And I'm like, is anyone going to play fucking defense on Al Horford?
He's running down the court. He drops his AARP card on the floor.
Exactly. And then they finally score a bucket. They come back down, and they're running a pick and roll, and Embiid goes with the ball handler, and they don't rotate again, and Horford hits another 3. I'm just like, What are any of you guys fucking doing?
You know, it would probably be the best way to go right now is if, like, Doc got COVID or something. And, like, Cassell took over and they, like, started winning games.
There are two coaches on that bench that I would love to see over Doc Rivers right now. There's Cassell, and then there's what's his face that used to coach Memphis.
Oh, Lionel Hollins?
No, no,
Is he
no,
coaching
the
it?
white guy.
Oh, the cancer guy,
Yeah,
Dave Yeager.
yeah, Dave Yeager. I would love to see both of them over Doc
Why do I
Rivers.
think Lionel Hollins? I think he's in L.A. I
He
can't keep
might be.
track.
Yeah.
These guys float all over the place.
No, I know they go everywhere.
But you're telling me, okay, that pisses me off even more. So you have Doc as the coach, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't get rid of this guy in the offseason, you have four options off the top of my head. Actually, I'm gonna give you five. You have Dave Yeager, Sam Cassell, Ime, Nate McMillan, fucking Kenny Atkinson. You're telling me that none of these, all of those coaches are better than what they have right now. And if you
Exactly.
want to give Sam Cassell the job, because that would make sense. He has a rapport with everybody. Yeah, actually, give Sam Cassell the job.
Exactly. Like Sam Cassell has been the one that everyone talks about. Like has been a big players coach. Everyone loves him. Everything. So like, and Dave Yeager was a head coach, and he wasn't that bad. Let's see his record. So he was Memphis's coach for 3 seasons, Sacramento's coach for 3 seasons. Has a total record of 245 and 247. I mean, the times he was in Sacramento, the team was not good.
But honestly, though, in Sacramento, he wasn't even that bad.
No, he
When
wasn't.
you look at him versus then Luke Walton,
Oh yeah, Luke
like
Walton was
thank
terrible.
God Mike Brown is there. Holy shit, what a huge difference that makes.
Seriously.
But if they don't get rid of Doc Rivers, if I were you, team, just like I did, I picked a new team. I'm a Kings fan. But I've always liked the Kings, but now I'm officially a Kings fan.
I I mean, the Kings have been way more fun to watch than the Sixers at times. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's been plenty of games that I've loved watching the Sixers this season, but at the same time, it's funny, like two seasons ago, I went into the season super excited thinking that the Sixers really have a shot to go to the finals. That was when they played Atlanta. Atlanta ended up going to the conference finals, so on and so forth. But that was like,
With the
I
guy who just got fired.
yeah. um, I was really confident and really excited for the team. Last year, I was like, Ben Simmons was holding out. They haven't traded him yet. I didn't know what was going to happen, who they were going to get. I was like, This year, I was like, the Sixers have one of the best rosters around Embiid since the time he's been here. And I still was just like, I don't know. They don't excite me as a championship contender. They like I'm looking at the team like they're very good, but I don't have any faith in them beating Milwaukee or Boston in a 7-game series to even get to the finals, let alone win the finals.
And I was all fucking jacked up for the Sixers headed into the year. I thought that they
I
were,
don't know.
boy, was I stupid.
You were trying to get me to join the excited train for the
And you
Sixers.
and I never say and for once, like I used to just rag on Joel Embiid. I haven't said a thing about this guy all season.
Oh yeah. Well, that's the thing. Embiid's not the issue.
Nope.
Everything else is the issue.
But you know what I saw my view on Embiid changed when he was in the postseason last year. He was playing with the Phantom of the Opera mask, and he had a
Yep.
broken, torn ligaments in the shooting hand.
Yep.
But he was still playing. So that why the fuck is my alarm going off?
No, I mean honestly that I feel like that changed the opinion of a lot of people because he was regarded as like an Anthony Davis. Like the moment he tweaked a toe, he was going to be out for 3 weeks.
Well, he in my defense, he was, and then
Exactly.
he may have grown up and matured a little bit. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, he is a father now, so he kind of had to mature a little. So,
Yeah, that usually happens. Well,
yeah,
unless you're a piece of shit.
true. Very true. There are plenty of those too.
There are plenty of guys who have dads, and it doesn't, like,
Yeah,
fuck this. I didn't sign up for this. I'm out of here.
exactly.
I was just
Um,
I was just looking for a good time one night. Next thing I know, I was thing looking at me, wanting me to buy food and shit. I ain't doing that.
I need food for myself, let alone this thing.
I know.
So let's move on from that because the Sixers are annoying. I will say though, Boston looks very good. I mean, when you have your number one guy scoring 18 points and shooting like 30 some percent and still scrounging out a win out of that, that is a quality win. And Joe Mazzulla's been doing a great job. Jaylen Brown's looked very good. Their depth is probably the best in the league. I mean, everyone from top to bottom on that team has been really fucking good. So,
Well, we were talking about the depth before of the Celtics,
yeah,
but I can't believe Joe Mazzulla is only like 17 years old.
I know he's so young.
He's like grouchy and shit. I don't think I've ever seen him smile.
I don't think so either.
No, I like him.
I mean, he went to West Virginia, so like,
Oh, I'd be pissed too if I were born in West Virginia. No offense.
agreed. But anyway, so let's move on to the Brooklyn Nets because it's our only other
Do we
Atlantic.
have to?
It's our only other Atlantic topic tonight.
Ugh.
So we'll get it out of the way.
Just we'll do it fast.
So
They suck.
thank you. Good night.
Have a great day. They're garbage.
So I mean, to be fair, plenty of us expected them to be bad ever since trading away Durant and Kyrie and everything like that.
Which I'm not gonna lie, I'm actually having fun watching Nets games now. Because
Yeah, I mean,
even though they're complete garbage, they at least are trying to win,
right.
and they have a good attitude. And Jacques Vaughn's a sweetheart. At least Jacques Vaughn's the only guy that could lose by 50 and still smile and be positive at the post game press conference.
Right. There's something to be said about cheering for like the underdog with a good like good chemistry and everything and good young guys that are like exciting as compared to cheering for the team that's expected to win and they just like throw up stinkers and disappoint every single year. Like when the Sixers were in the middle of tank mode with Sam Hinkie and everything, it was every win was like a playoff win because they weren't expected to win anything. So it was just like it was that much more fun to watch because these guys were busting their asses because they didn't even know if they were going to be in the league past that week because there was a bunch of dudes on like 10-day contracts. So,
Yeah, I mean, they're a work in progress. There's some adjustments that are going to have to be made. You could tell Nico Claxton's totally lost without Kevin Durant and Kyrie. He's not playing well at all.
nope.
Bridges is going to be an all-star, but it's his first go around as the number one scoring option on a team. That's understandable. Dinwiddie's Dinwiddie. Cam Johnson. Okay. Joe Harris. I mean, they got to get rid of Joe Harris. He's got to go. Joe Harris has to go. I'm surprised Seth Curry is still on that team, to be honest with you, and not back in Philly, which they could definitely use him right about now.
Agreed.
And even Joe Harris, I'm surprised Joe Harris not in Los Angeles.
I was just about to say I'm surprised the Lakers didn't ask about him.
Right, like these guys, I love Joe Harris, and he's a all-time great net. like one of the best Nets ever.
Right.
But he just doesn't fit in with what they got going on right now.
Shit, even if I was like the Knicks or the Heat or something, I'd be like, so what was happening with Joe Harris?
So like Joe, they're like, hey Joe, you know, they're like all I could think of is like construction workers going, you know what I mean? Like fucking, he's walking by, great ass, come to Miami.
Exactly. Miami's like, we'll give you Duncan Robinson. He's a lot younger.
Yeah, the Duncan Robinson's like the dollar store version of Joe Harris.
The dollar store version that is advertised to be worth a whole lot more.
Right. They it's like when you go to, instead of buying like, you know, Pepsi or Coke, you're buying like, you know,
Dr.
wow.
Pibb.
Yeah, wow. Dr. Pibb's got Dr. Pibb
Dr.
ain't
Pibb
bad.
is Dr. Pibb is solid. I will agree with
The
that.
only place though I've ever had a Dr. Pibb is Wendy's or
Oh,
Mr.
true.
Pibb,
Mr. Pibb, that's right.
which I boycotted Wendy's ever since they got rid of the strawberry or the vanilla frosty.
It should be a crime, to be honest.
Seriously, they go, well, we only have 2 frosties on the menu at this time, and I go, well, I don't give two shit. You just lost a customer.
They had peppermint before. Like you got peppermint,
Well,
but
that's
you
the
can't have
holidays.
vanilla.
You
But
tell me you
still,
can't buy.
like
You tell me you can't buy a third frosty machine.
exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Like Wendy's said they were losing money, you know, but yet they still made a profit of over $1 billion. And you're telling me you can't buy 3 frosty machines in select markets?
Exactly.
Dave would be rolling over his fucking grave right now. I'll tell you that.
But yeah, I mean, I will say with
For those who
Brooklyn,
don't know, it's Dave Thomas is the founder of Wendy's.
yes.
They don't even have a salad bar at Wendy's. I mean, not
Therefore,
that I
Dave's double.
right. Not that I like ate salad, but at least on the salad bar they used to have like soup,
Damn, the salad bar's a
tacos.
throwback.
Yeah,
I forgot
everybody's
about
so
the
scared
salad bar.
about salad bars now. They're like, we can't COVID. Just bring the salad bar back.
Exactly.
Haven't
Then
we
at
lost enough due to the Chinese pandemic? And now, I'm sorry, due to a, haven't we lost enough? And you can't, you just give me something back. There's a place down the street they used to have a salad bar. They had salad, like 4 kinds of soup. And it wasn't just a salad bar with just salad. It was a salad bar with like macaroni salad, potato salad, like good salad, not like green salad. And
right.
they're like, nah, we got rid of it, COVID. I'm like, I've lost everything. Just give me a fucking salad bar.
Yeah, at this rate, I don't know why they don't just throw them back in. Like, there's a diner not that far away from me that has like a pickle bar. It's like all these types of pickled things as well as different types of pickles themselves, and it's like a salad bar, but it's just pickles. And they still have it. They're like, yeah, go on up, pick
Good.
whatever you want.
I mean, you get Chinese food and they're like, nope, we're going strong. Buffets are still, I knew some Chinese places that were open like a couple of weeks after COVID. They're like, no, we're not shutting down.
They're like, fuck it, come get food.
Yeah. We don't care if people unleashed a virus on the world. We're still giving you sesame chicken.
Meanwhile, open bars are still a thing. Like, yeah, come on up and wait at the bar with 50 other people while we make you all drinks. Whereas like a
Right.
salad bar, you're in there getting your food quick and getting out.
Well, remember when they said they said you could only drink if you order food? I don't know if that was a
Yeah.
thing where you were
Yep.
at. Because if
Hmm.
you don't like, I'm like, who's coming up with these things?
Exactly. If I'm out there, I'm gonna get COVID whether I'm drunk or sober.
Yeah, if I'm out, obviously I'll give 2 fucks whether I'm getting COVID. So give me a beer
Right.
and then another one. And while I'm drinking this, your ass better be pouring me another one. You know what I mean? It's just like,
Exactly.
it's like a nightmare.
It's like the Nets. Like if you're gonna rebuild, you might as well trade fucking Joe Harris because he's not gonna do anything for you anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he'll be gone. I think this is it for him.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's it for him. I think it's it for Seth Curry. For a lot of guys on the bench,
Patty
really.
Mills.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if Patty Mills finally retires.
Yeah, I go to San Antonio.
True.
I go
He
back
probably
with
should
Daddy.
retire as a Spur.
Right. If Daddy's still there at that point in time.
True. Speaking of the Spurs, we will transition so that we don't have to talk about the Brooklyn Nets. Let's get into this load management stuff before we get into some of the other stuff. So there was a big
I'm
load.
married. I have no choice but to have load management.
I was wondering where you're gonna go with that at first. I was like, what?
Yeah, you'll see.
But now it makes sense. It makes sense. There was a big discussion on First Take with Perkins and Stephen A about load management. They brought up everything
Molly,
from
who
and
looked.
Molly.
I wasn't even looking at those fucking. I was looking at her. I couldn't stop looking at her.
But they brought up everything from the All-Star game being terrible to, they showed clips of like that one kid that flew from overseas to the Heat game for Jimmy Butler and Butler didn't play. They showed the little girl sitting next to LeBron James on the bench because he wasn't playing. Those ended up being cool stories because the players did stuff for the fans afterwards, but I digress. They didn't play. Then they obviously showed Kawhi Leonard, one of the biggest faces of load management.
No. He had knee inflammation.
True. Knee inflammation.
Right.
And then Perkins did bring up the fact that a lot of people don't talk about, to be honest, that Popovich and the Spurs were one of the people that made load management a thing with Tim Duncan and those guys. Now, granted, it was when they got older. It wasn't like when Tim Duncan was in his prime or anything like that, but they wanted to preserve Tim Duncan, so they started this whole load management thing. At the time, though, they did get fined anytime they did it, and they just ate the fine. They didn't care about it, but it was a rule that they enforced. Now, there is no rule about it. You can load manage all you want. All you have to do is say it's injury management or non-COVID illness, whatever you want to call it. And we see a lot more guys sit out. I remember seeing a stat. It was like, I think it was back in the early 2000s. It was like 40 or 50 guys played all 82 games. This past season, 5 players played all 82 games. One of them being Mikal Bridges. But that's it. 5 players out of the hundreds in the NBA.
Well, you want to hear why people don't like the NBA anymore? I mean, the All-Star game was a flop, and that was an embarrassment.
Oh yeah, that was.
And if that's not like a wake-up call to somebody that what's happening is just a joke, we got problems, people. I joined TikTok, by the way.
Do you have a lot of videos where it's like, fuck the young people?
No, but and I'm not making fun of this girl, but I love this girl. She has Tourette's, and she's such a beautiful little, she's like maybe 19. Right. Beautiful girl. I feel sorry for her, but I'm not gonna lie, she's fucking funny. Because when she's talking, she'll just be like I'll be talking like this, and then she'll just go, "Fuck your mom," and I'll be like, I'm laughing. I can't help it.
There's a lot of people on TikTok and social media that like may have, like a disability or something, but they lean into it and it makes it really funny. Like I appreciate the people that can lean into it and like use it as something that is either for entertainment or for education or whatever it may be.
Right.
Those kind of people are awesome.
I actually would love it if she came on the show.
That would be great.
That would be amazing.
You should get her on here.
I messaged her because I said my daughter and I are huge fans. I think you're doing a great job. Keep up the good work. And then my daughter yelled at me because she said that's cringy So I don't know. I thought I was doing the right thing by joining TikTok, and I don't know how to use it.
Oh, I don't ever comment or post anything on TikTok other than on our Atlantic Files one because I have the clips anyway. But I literally just scroll through and like see funny shit and send it to friends. That's literally all I use TikTok for.
Well, you can send me something now. I have TikTok.
All right. I see a lot of my videos are like fucked up comedian humor and stuff like that. So I'm sure you would appreciate it.
What are you trying to say? So, anyways, Robert Parrish, the NBA leader, most games played, played 21 seasons in the league. He's played less than 72 games. You know how many times?
How many?
Once. And you know what that was? Final season. He played 43 games in his final season. So there was not one of his 21 where he didn't play at least 72 games. And that's 72 was on the low end of 79 game seasons, 80 game seasons. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, 20 seasons he played. And they changed it to 82 games, by the way, in like 1969. So he was kind of just getting into that. But 20 seasons, he played less than 70 games only twice in 20 years.
Right.
Michael Jordan, for anybody who says this guy ain't the GOAT, Michael Jordan played 82 games. You know how many times? 9 times.
Jeez.
9 times, including his final 3 seasons before he retired for the first time. He played all 82 games that season. So, and LeBron, I love LeBron. I got to give it to LeBron in his first 15 seasons in the league. He played at least 70. He played less than 70 games twice. All his other, if you make it to 70 games or 72 games or 75 games, to me, I'm going to count that as like an entire season.
I agree. 70 or more.
Right, is impressive.
Yes.
So yeah, I totally agree with Jalen Rose was saying stuff about it, and you got to think about like how things are going on these days, right? Like the economy is not it's not very stable right now. A lot of things are expensive. You know, food's going up, gas is going up, people are getting laid off. People have to make like sacrifices in terms of, you know, I'm going to have to pull my kid out of this, or I'm going to have to like get a second job, and I'm not going to be able to spend more time with my family and all this stuff. And imagine if you're the parents, right? And I took my daughter to a Brooklyn Nets game, which wasn't cheap. On top of that, I had to travel. I had to get a hotel room. I had to buy food, which was probably $200 in just food at the arena. I had to get a hotel room, which was probably around $200. The tickets were about $150, I think, at least $150. Gas to drive. So I'm looking at like $1,000 trip.
Right.
Oh, and merchandise, and buying her a hat and a sweatshirt and all this shit. So it's for people to do that, right? And there's people in some really bad like financial decisions to where imagine the joy on your face to where you can finally walk up to one of your kids and be like, we're going to go to a Lakers game and we're going to see LeBron, or we're going to go to a Clippers game and we're going to see Kawhi. You get there and guess what happens? We're not playing. Why aren't you playing? Load management. I ain't fucking playing. I mean, that's Anthony Edwards said it best. I mean, he called everybody out for that bullshit. Yep. So you're telling me that you're too good to play just because of load management. You know what I mean? Luckily Jimmy Butler made it right for that kid who went all the way to Miami to watch him play, and like right. Great guys. It's not necessary. It's the players created that culture though of load management, because Popovich may have been like the originator of it, but now the players have really. It's like when your parents they let you drink when you're 18 and have a couple friends over, maybe, and say, yeah, you can have a couple friends over, but You guys could have a couple beers and nothing else. The next thing you know, you have 7 friends over and you got a fucking keg. You know what I mean?
Right,
Like this is
right.
the type of situation that turns into. Now you got guys who just miss games and then they come up with some bullshit injury.
Well, now
So
and the new thing now is literally just listing injury management.
right,
Like,
you don't even have to
what
say
the fuck is
why.
that? Exactly. Which is, and honestly, if the NBA really wanted to combat it, they should have just kept up with fining teams for rest days.
Well, they need to have some type of review system to where they can't send independent doctors to every game to do an evaluation of these players. It's not reasonable. But you should, if you're 90 years old, you have to send all this documentation to get into a nursing home.
Right.
That's like an encyclopedia of all this documentation that has to get reviewed just to determine if you can go to a home where you're going to shit all over the place. You're telling me that if somebody's listed as out, that they can't send documentation to a team of physicians who can evaluate these things and say, nah, that's bullshit. He could have played. There was no
Right.
medical evidence. And then if this shit like keeps happening, you can fine, you could pull draft picks, you could do whatever you got to do, but you need to make sure that these guys are playing.
Yep. And I
I don't want
think
to hear any of this bullshit about shortened seasons. I don't want to hear about
I know.
because the NBA has tried to accommodate the best that they could, even during a pandemic, limiting the amount of back to backs, doing all this stuff. But now you get these players who just don't. They just don't have it in them. Well, for one, they don't care about the regular season. The regular season doesn't mean anything, which is
Right.
why I'm a pretty big advocate of when Adam Silver was like, let's bring in European teams for a tournament. I am totally on fucking board with that because if this is the shit you're going to get during the regular season, the only reason I watch it is because I have nothing to do. I still like basketball because you and I both talk about it. Like I don't mind watching Damian Lee play. I don't mind watching Derrick Rose limp around the court for 12 minutes. You know what I mean?
Right.
But some mainstream fans, they want to watch LeBron, they want to watch Kawhi, they want to watch KD, they want to watch Kyrie, they want to watch all these guys, especially Kyrie too. Didn't even want to get a vaccination. People in those days a couple of years ago, they had no hope for anything. They didn't look forward to anything. They're locked in their homes. People were losing. So a lot sports was an outlet for a lot of
Yep.
people. So yeah,
Exactly. And that's the thing too is
out of
to
breath.
get one of the big things that the NBA wants also is to get new fans as kids, get older and I mean target new fans so that they can continue to grow. But it's hard to say like you bring your kid and be like, "Hey, let's go watch Furkan Korkmaz and Paul Reed and those guys play." Kids are like, "Who the fuck is that?"
I'd be okay with that.
Oh no, I would love that personally. But like a new basketball fan, let alone NBA fan, it's like you would rather be like, "Hey, let's go watch Joel Embiid play against Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and the Brooklyn Nets and be a big rivalry game and like everything like that." But instead, you're getting all these no-name people. Not all the time. Like some teams still have bigger name people that are playing, even though one might load manage, whatever it may be. But I mean, I have my own example of I finally my like life goal was to have season tickets for the Sixers, even just for one season, and with the help of my fiance, we did it. We got season tickets last year, and I went with my brother to the game against the Lakers because in my 28 years of living, I've never seen LeBron in person. I've had the chance to multiple times when he was with Cleveland and came to Philly, when he was with Miami and came to Philly, but I couldn't afford tickets at the time or so on and so forth. So I finally have season tickets and I have the chance to finally see LeBron before he retires. He was probable heading up to that game the whole time. And then right as we're in the stadium, I refresh Twitter and it says out, knee soreness. I'm like, your knee really hurt that bad that you couldn't just go play that game?
Right.
And it's not like it was a meaningless game. Like the Lakers needed that game for if they wanted to make the playoffs.
But at least LeBron, though, like he's played and he's older
True.
now.
True.
You know, so I give him a little bit of leeway. But when I once saw the Nets, like they were playing Memphis, and John Morant was in the middle of one of his multiple streaks of being injured, so he wasn't there. It was Kyrie's first game back, so he didn't really play as much as he normally did. You know who the leading scorer for the Nets was that game? Fucking Ben Simmons. You know who's number 2? Utah Watanabe. And I love Utah Watanabe, but I mean, I got to tell my daughter that, hey, remember when you watched Utah Watanabe? Even though she likes his name, she thinks he's cool, but,
right.
Excuse me. But yeah.
It's a big difference than seeing Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving.
Right.
Yeah, it's...
And watch Marquis fucking Morris.
Right. And during that season that we had season tickets, there was a lot of times that we played other teams that they were load managing. And this was also in the beginning of this season. This is the whole time Ben Simmons is holding out. And then the Sixers, that's when the whole team got like hit with COVID. So I was watching Maxey, Charles Bassey, Paul Reed, Isaiah Joe, Furkan Korkmaz. Like I enjoyed it. Don't get me wrong. That was great. But like all these other people coming to see them, and then another team coming in, you're like, all right, all of our stars and everything have COVID, so we can't see them. So like, we'll at least get to see the other team's star player. Well, since they were facing a ragtag bunch of people, they were like, we'll just load manage our star and we won't play them either.
Right.
So it's just like, what the fuck is the point then?
I tell you though, that's the problem with the NBA and other sports, is because the people aren't relatable. They make a ton of money, and the guys are working hard. There are guys, driving a forklift for a living, working 10, 12 hours a day just to send their kid to college, and going to work with a bad back and a fucking one of their nuts is up in their stomach, and they have any ailment on the planet, they're still going to work, and yet you got a guy with it's like in baseball, a guy has a blister and all of a sudden he's out. I'm like, a fucking blister?
Right.
Well, you can't grip the ball, whatever. I don't even want to hear it,
Exactly. Yeah. And I think that Stephen A was onto something when he said, he didn't necessarily say like guys just don't care anymore, but he said essentially they don't outwardly show that they care. They don't like
priorities. They don't have their priorities in order.
Exactly. So he's like, so as somebody watching from the outside in, the only thing we can think of is that they don't care if they miss games. They don't have the same type of competitive fire and passion that guys like Michael Jordan, Allen Iverson, Kobe Bryant, all those guys had. They don't have that type of fire. Because when we're watching you rest a game and laugh and joke around on the bench, what are people supposed to think about that? And I feel old in kind of saying that, because I feel like that's what I heard a lot from like my parents and people older than them. But it's like, to a certain degree, it's true, because we can only see from the outside looking in, unless somebody says something or shows some sort of point otherwise. That's all you can see. And on top of that, the All-Star game, when that was literally everybody just not even remotely trying, and you had players and coaches who were participating in the All-Star game talk about how it was the worst basketball they've ever seen. It was a glorified layup line. It wasn't even basketball. Nobody was trying. Like, The fact that guys are actively saying that participated in it is ridiculous.
So I'm going to prove something to you. Hold on.
Okay.
Put that in. For those of you who don't know, it's my beautiful.
Asshole.
Name me 3 NBA players.
LeBron James, Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving.
You ever hear of Paul Reed?
No.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
Thank you.
But that's my point.
Stop.
Exactly.
You think if I went to her, even though she flipped me off, but you think if I went to her and said, hey, if I went to her and said, hey, we're going to see Paul Reed tonight, she'd go, I thought we were seeing, LeBron.
Right.
So, yeah.
Exactly. I mean, and think of like all the kids that could be Clippers fans, and they're like, oh, I want to go see Kawhi Leonard play. And it's just like a crapshoot for their parents to actually try and guess which game Kawhi Leonard's going to play.
Well, at this point, you just flip a coin. And,
I know. It's like, hey,
I mean?
instead of Kawhi Leonard, we're going to see Norm Powell. And it's like, I didn't want to see a guy who has the name of a 80-year-old war vet. I want to see Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah, but seeing Norm Powell is not even as bad as what you could get.
True. You could get a lot worse than Norm Powell.
Imagine if you were like in LA and you're like, my starting lineup is going to be Amir Coffee, just whatever. And yeah.
Right. Yeah, no, exactly. Like, I mean, you could be like in Houston Rockets fan and just have a bunch of names that even avid basketball fans are just like, yeah, I don't know how this guy's going to pan out, but like he might be something. Let alone casual fans knowing who. Let's go see Usman Garuba. Who?
Yeah, Trent Forrest, here he comes.
Exactly.
But when it's all going to get, it's modern day guys like LeBron and KD aren't really going to suffer as much. But when it comes, if ratings keep going down and ticket sales, guess who's going to make? They'll surely negotiate more in the collective bargaining agreement. But yeah, so
Yep. Agreed. But anyway, let's move on to something that was more exciting and everything. Games since the All-Star game have been
you
more
spend
exciting.
money on hookers and coke to watch.
And
Pay
have
the
a
same
better
ticket
time.
price for
That's part of the reason why we don't have season tickets anymore. That just after
hookers and coke.
Probably because it's due to James Harden. They told us that for the same seats we had, for just 2 seats for season tickets, the price went up $3,500 just because of the James Harden trade. And mind you,
no, thank you.
Mind you, these seats, while they are the lower level, it's not like they're that close to the court. It's not like they're courtside or anything like that. They were already $5,000 for those 2 seats for season tickets.
Yeah, I'd be like, yeah, never mind. I'm going to get seasons to the Delaware Bluecoats game. Thank you.
Exactly.
Or
Exactly. And I was a photographer for the Bluecoats, so I could just sit on the baseline taking pictures and watch a basketball game rather than pay $8,000 to sit all the way up in the seats.
Is that what they would charge you for Bluecoat season tickets?
What?
Or are you talking Philly?
No, I'm talking Philly.
Oh, the Bluecoats are $8,000 for season tickets of Bluecoats?
Oh, yeah. No. One Bluecoats game was like $15 for a ticket.
Yeah, I'd rather go to watch the Bluecoats.
Yeah, I agree. That's where I saw Cam Thomas play for the first time. I was taking pictures at the Bluecoats game, and I saw Cam Thomas, Kessler Edwards, Day'Ron Sharp, versus the Bluecoats, who at the time had Zaire Smith. They also had Paul Reed, and Isaiah Joe. So I got to see all those guys.
See, I'd
down in
love
the
to see that.
Yeah, it was fun. But anyway, the games since the All-Star game have actually been exciting. There's been some great games. I mean, just Sixers games alone, the big comeback against the Memphis Grizzlies was super exciting. Even the game losing to the Boston Celtics, that was still a great game to watch. And then you had the double
especially,
overtime.
had it not been for, if you had .2 more seconds, that game would have went to overtime on a heave nearly down the entire court by Joel Embiid.
I know, that was insane. It was funny because Embiid knew it wasn't in time. He knew right away and just walked off the court. But man, everyone in the stadium was like, "Please tell me that counted."
I mean, that would have been really cool if it counted, but it was still cool though that they even had to review that.
Oh yeah, agreed. And then it happened again. It was either the night after or the same night in a different game. Paul George hit the half court or 3/4 court running shot, but he didn't get it off in time either.
I didn't see that one.
I think it might have been yesterday. I think it was Sunday night that Paul George, they were down 2 or down 1 or something, and Paul George just heaved one, and it also went in, but the ball was still in his hand when the time went out. But also, speaking of the Clippers, I mean, they were the ones in the double overtime game with the Kings, which almost tied the score of the All-Star game. But it was actually competitive.
I feel like they're going to hit 200 points.
Oh yeah, it was when I saw the box score, I was just like, that is fucking insane.
That might have been one of the greatest games I've ever seen in my entire life.
And it was two teams that historically have been god awful, but
Garbage.
now they're two Western Conference powers right now.
Well, I mean, if Sabonis was in foul trouble for a lot of that game, and the fact that the Kings still were very competitive, and how good De'Aaron Fox is this year, and just how I like their role players that they have on the Kings, like the Trey Lyles and Matu and Davion Mitchell and Terrence Davis and Malik Monk is 6th man of the year worthy, right? That team's awesome.
Malik Monk better win 6th man of the year.
Yeah, for real.
I can't name you anybody that deserves it over him.
I mean, he scored over 40 points in that game.
Yeah. And he's had a lot of 20-point games. He's had multiple 30-point games. I think he had one other 40-point game other than that one too.
Well, it makes you think how were the Lakers so bad when Malik Monk was on the Lakers? You know what I mean?
I'm telling you, I really think it's because anybody who plays with LeBron, they're asshole puckers and they just don't play well. I really think that's the case. Unless you're a superstar, because then you're not thinking about that kind of thing. Like if you're Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh and Kevin Love and Kyrie Irving, that's not your problem.
Well, the Lakers came back and beat the Mavs yesterday, but still, I mean, D'Lo's hurt already. Sprained his ankle, so
I literally just saw the update that LeBron's going to be out several weeks now because of his ankle injury.
Yep. So yeah, their season's over.
Yep. Because who knows how healthy Anthony Davis is going to be?
All you fantasy guys for the playoffs, you better pick up Troy Brown real quick.
I know the one league that I'm doing really well in, I have LeBron, so that's great.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, the games have been amazing these past few days. I mean, not just those ones, but even some of the blowout games has honestly been exciting. Memphis, when they blew out Denver, Memphis looked amazing, even though the game right before they lost to the Sixers in a big comeback. I mean, Memphis looked super fucking good in that game. And then I think it was Denver yesterday that might have went to... It was either in overtime or close to overtime, and Jokic put up that 40-point triple-double. That was a big game.
They played the Clippers yesterday.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, so
That was
Jokic played out of his mind yesterday, and Lillard went crazy
oh
yesterday too.
yeah, the 70 what he's 71 or 73.
Yeah, 70 something.
Yeah,
I mean, anything 70 is good enough.
I know. I had to do a triple take at the box score when I saw he had 40 some points in the first half alone.
Well, I woke up and I won a bunch of DraftKings. I go, I'm going to bed. I ain't fucking winning. And I wake up thinking, $50. I'm like, oh, okay, I'll take it.
That's not bad.
No, I'll take it.
And then you even had guys like Nas Reed last night putting up 30, 39, and 5, and the Timberwolves only lost by 5. I mean, it was
That team is hideous.
oh, I know. They're terrible. De'Aaron Fox though for the Kings has been awesome. I've loved watching De'Aaron Fox play. And then even the Suns Bucks games last night. The Bucks only won by 3, but that was a good game because Giannis wasn't playing, so it was even more exciting to see if the Bucks could pull that one off. Drew Holiday scores 33 points and helps them win a game. That was exciting too. I mean, I feel like a lot of the teams right now know that it's do or die at this point because they have to do something to make the playoffs because there's a lot of teams that should be in the playoff race that are either in the play-in or outside of the play-in looking in. So there's a lot of shit that needs to happen.
Depending upon what the Lakers do, if they're at a striking distance, there's a chance. It depends how severely injured LeBron is. There's a chance he might not come back this year.
That's true.
Because he's been banged up all year.
Yeah, I know. And right now they're 1 game out of the 10 seed, so they're not even in the play-in right now.
Right, and they're going to lose some games now that LeBron's not there.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they have Russell Westbrook. Oh, wait, they don't have him. They got rid of him. And, yeah, that's what happened.
The starting lineup is going to be like Troy Brown, Anthony Davis, Malik Beasley. Schroeder.
Yeah.
And Austin Reeves.
Yeah.
Although,
yep.
I gotta give props to Austin Reeves for standing up for himself in their last game when I forget who it was, but they were talking shit. And if for all of those that can read lips out there was the video clip of him getting in the dude's face and said, "You ain't shit. I'll fuck you up."
Yeah, Austin Reeves, like you see a whole new light for him. He's a tough guy.
I know. He's probably one of the most entertaining guys on that team.
And they have Vanderbilt and Hachimura and
oh yeah, Vanderbilt's been playing really well.
Yeah,
too.
Vanderbilt had a good game yesterday. So I mean but yeah.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
I like seeing the Lakers do terribly because like they've had enough.
Right.
They've been winning forever. Like
unless Jeannie Buss wants to, then I'll root for the Lakers.
There you go.
I mean, take me out to dinner. That's what I meant.
But I did want to touch on Jimmy Butler. I'm assuming you saw his post-game press conference.
They suck.
In the locker room. They do suck. And he literally was like, I'm tired of losing. And I get it. I mean, currently, right, as we speak, the Miami's up by 8 at halftime against the Sixers. So maybe they'll win tonight. But
so I did some more research on this.
Oh, okay.
All right. So
I'm ready.
Miami currently, and I'm not even blaming Bam Adebayo and Jimmy Butler because and even Tyler Hero, for the most part, outside he's shooting a little bit worse than he did.
Mm-hmm.
But the rest of the team is garbage. And Kyle Lowry used to average 19 points a couple of years ago. He's averaging 12 points a game now, and he's been banged up. So Miami, they currently rank last in the league in points per game, 108 points.
Mm-hmm.
They shoot 45%, which is the second worst in the league, and they are the 6th worst in rebounding. Defensively, they're playing well. They allow the second Well, how do I say this? Second least, second left.
Give up the second fewest.
You know what the fuck I mean. There's only one team who allows more points than them, and they're in the top 5 defensive range, so that's good. However, they went last season. They had the most productive bench in the league. Tyler Hero.
Right.
Now they're the worst bench in the league. They had the most production in the league from off the bench. Their bench was the highest scoring bench in the NBA, and now they are the worst scoring bench in the NBA.
Well, and it's like, if you look at their bench, as long as everyone's healthy. Let's start by saying that it's Max Strus, Gabe Vincent, Haywood Highsmith. Now I love Haywood Highsmith. He was a guy on the Blue Coats when I was taking pictures there. Love him, but like
It's Haywood Highsmith.
It's Haywood Highsmith. Nikola Jovic, who's only played 15 total games. Oladipo, who at one point in time was a very good player. Orlando
But he's
Robinson.
been hurt, which is weird because he's never hurt.
Right. Orlando Robinson. Drew Smith has played 5 games off the bench. Udonis Haslem has played 6 games off the bench. Duncan Robinson.
1 minute and 25 seconds a game.
Exactly. Duncan Robinson.
Is a joke.
Jamal Cain.
Who's actually had a couple good games.
He has. And then Deadman, who's not on the team anymore.
Right.
So when you hear that bench,
it doesn't really strike fear into your heart.
no. And now that they have Kevin Love, who's starting, Caleb Martin's on the bench, who still, if you hear Caleb Martin's name on the bench, you're still not impressed.
Right. And Gabe Vincent, I mean, I think Gabe Vincent, though, is averaging as a starter 13, 14 points a game.
Something like that.
So that ain't bad. But
And the only 2 players on the team, oh no, it's actually 3 players now, that have played more than 50 games are Max Strus. Oh, okay. Well, I gave you Max Strus. So who are the other?
Well, I would have said him anyways because he always plays.
Okay.
So we got Max Strus, Bam Adebayo.
Yep.
And,
He is the second most.
And Jimmy Butler hasn't. Tyler Hero hasn't. Kyle Lowry hasn't. So it's either going to be Caleb Martin or Gabe Vincent.
Caleb Martin.
Yeah.
Max Strus has played 59. Bam has played 56. Caleb Martin has played 51.
What about Gabe Vincent? He has to be in the high 40s, right?
47.
Okay.
So he's still up there. Haywood Highsmith has appeared in the same amount of games as Kyle Lowry, 44.
Well, even when Kyle Lowry plays, it's like you forget he's even there. He's so bad.
True. He at least was decent on like defense if he didn't have a good offensive night, in years past. But even then, he's non-existent.
It's garbage.
Exactly. And on top of that, like the Heat in general,
like he's gonna get to Mike Conley status. Like Mike Conley's better than he is now.
Agreed. Mike Conley at least just got traded for some stuff, so he has some value.
Right. You tried. You couldn't get a thing for Kyle Lowry at this point. Unless you're the Lakers. The Lakers would have traded for him.
They probably would have, you're right. But the Heat also have the 3rd slowest team of the entire league in terms of pace.
Which is probably why they don't give up that many points.
Exactly. So it's not even that like the defense.
I mean, look at the guys on their team. Kyle Lowry can't even. I mean, he's a little.
I know. And
so
their net
starting to look like me.
Their net rating is 23rd out of the 30 teams. And on top of that, I don't remember if you said this already or not, but they score the least amount of points per game.
Yes.
They're only scoring 108.1.
Right.
That's it. And when you see games that just went for 175 against 173 or whatever, you realize how bad that is. Their offensive rating is 27th out of the 30 teams in the league.
Yeah, my only knock on Jimmy Butler is that he's never. I'm sorry. Didn't mean to cut you off.
No. Go ahead.
I mean, my only knock on Jimmy Butler is his inability to stay healthy, but he's playing well when he plays. Bam
True.
Adebayo's playing well until he gets to the playoffs, and he'll disappear if they make it that far.
Right.
I mean, I can't even fault like Max Strus or Gabe Vincent. Tyler Hero, like, okay, but Tyler Hero is so fragile. You know, he's not a stranger to missing time. He's never been like the most healthy guy ever.
I agree.
Yurt Seven's been out with an ankle injury. Duncan fucking Robinson, give me a break, and Oladipo. I mean, come on.
Yurt 7 hasn't even played a single game this season.
Right. So, yeah.
And it's like, just looking at a bunch of their stats, it's near the bottom of the league for everything.
Yeah, they suck.
Like, and the fact that they just got rid of Deadman when they're 27th in the league in defensive rebounds and 26th in the league in total rebounds and 30th in blocks.
Like, they could have made a deal and try to get like Onyeka Okongwu or something like that.
They couldn't make a deal to get like anybody else.
Right, yeah. That's a good point.
I mean, 29th in the league in field goal percentage?
I mean, you're telling me you couldn't call up the Nets and say, hey, since you guys are rebuilding, you want to throw Joe Harris at us or Seth Curry? We'll give you Duncan Robinson's shitty contract, but we'll give you some draft picks or something.
Right.
We'll give you something.
And they 2 seasons ago or last season, whenever it was, they go out and sign Duncan Robinson to this huge contract because of his 3-point shooting. And Tyler Hero was like this big shooter and everything. And they're even 28th in the league in 3-point percentage. They're 23rd in 2-point percentage.
Duncan, the only person I've ever known who has it was a worse contract is Chandler Parsons.
Oh, yeah. That was a terrible contract. That was... Well, Ben Simmons' contract is looking pretty bad now.
Yeah, but at least
he's got some time.
A little bit.
True.
Chandler Parsons just never did anything.
That's talk about street clothes. That guy was getting hurt all the time.
Yeah, I think Kevin Harlan's his father-in-law.
Really? I didn't know.
Yeah, little known fact.
Oh.
Yeah.
With that being said, we talked about the Clippers a little bit. Unless you want to talk about Russell Westbrook.
No, he's playing better. He's shooting better. He's, he just looks a better fit with the Clippers. Good for him. I'm rooting for him. Hopefully he does well.
So with that being said, we'll get to your Remember This Guy segment.
Yeah, oh yeah.
I'm ready.
He's currently 43 years old.
Udonis Haslem.
No. He played at Ohio State.
Okay.
He's played for 2 teams throughout his career. That'd be the Milwaukee Bucks and the Phoenix Suns.
All right, that rules out someone I had in my head. Okay.
Who'd you have in your head? Greg
Oden.
No. He did make an all-star team. He did play in the Olympics.
Oh.
I won't tell you when, though.
Okay.
And the national teams he was playing on. I won't tell you when.
Okay.
He played most of his career with the Bucks. His final season in the league was with the Suns.
Okay. So, was that final season with the Suns, was that his only season with the Suns?
Yes.
Okay. And he's played most of his career with the Bucks.
He was a shooting guard, small forward.
Ooh. Shooting guard, small forward. How many seasons did he play?
He played for 12 seasons approximately.
Oh, shit. Okay. And he went to Ohio State. Shooting guard, small forward. Bucks. And the Suns.
Yes.
And you said he was 43?
He's currently 43 right now.
Currently 43. So when he played, that was probably like 10 plus years ago.
So he has a career average of 19 points per game.
Oh.
Over 629 games. Career 3-point percentage of 38%.
38%. So he was pretty solid too.
Yeah, he wasn't bad, but he's a guy that you probably haven't thought of in a while.
Probably not, because I can't think of him right just yet.
I'll give you another hint. He's named after a color.
Named after
His last name is a color,
Oh God.
although spelled differently.
You talking about Michael Redd?
Yes, that's correct, Michael Redd.
There we go.
Now, what can you honestly tell me? When was the last time you thought about Michael Redd?
It's been a long time.
Yeah, see?
I actually didn't know Michael Redd went to Ohio State. That's the part that was throwing me off. Because, when I think of Ohio State, too, I think of a lot more recent guys.
Greg Oden.
Well, yeah, Greg Oden. But also, D'Lo went to Ohio State. Evan Turner was another one that I started thinking of right away. But the moment you said Bucks and Suns.
I'm going to give you guys that you got to... Chandler Parsons would have been fantastic. But there's plenty in the pipe.
I was about to say, the only ones that I feel like I would think of that most people wouldn't are those weird-ass, players that came through Philly during the tanking years. I can bring up, Varnado off of the top of my head because he was a Sixer.
Well,
but nobody else would think of him.
Next week, it might be an overseas player who made the treacherous voyage across the Atlantic to come to the United States to play in the National Basketball Association.
Oh God!
A guy who comes from a war-torn country and he just wants to come while guys are sitting playing, load management.
Like Milos Teodosic.
Okay, no, that's not what I'm thinking. Don't worry.
That would have been amazing.
And it may be, it may not be, but I'll confirm beforehand. Just so I don't want to pull any funny stuff with this.
I got you. Well, unless you got anything else, I think that's it here for us.
No, I gotta go beat my daughter for flipping me off.
And she called you an asshole.
Well, I mean, I kind of deserved it. But we got this thing though where we're like pals.
Yeah. No, that's what I hope my future relationship with my kids will be too. So.
Yeah, she thinks calling me an asshole is funny, but it kind of is.
I mean, calling people an asshole is kind of funny.
Right. I mean, where do you think she learned it from? In all honesty, you know what I mean.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yes.
But next week I will have something for you that's more of this game show style of thing. So
I like it.
I like it too. It's fun.
Yes.
I'm probably going to do one of those grid things that people have been doing on social media. So
okay, I don't know what you're talking about, but okay.
You'll see. It's easy to get down. It's nothing complex or anything.
Okay. I'm just trying to get TikTok down, so don't confuse me too much.
I got you. But all right. That is it for us. Thank you, everybody, for watching and listening to another episode of The Atlantic Files, the #1 podcast on the #1 division in the NBA, brought to you by the Underdog Sports Podcast Network. Thank you for watching. Muhammad, he says bye-bye. Have a good night, Muhammad.
Take care, Clay. Muhammad.
Take care, Clay's burner. Thank you, everybody, and we will catch you guys next week. Peace.